Hello, ComicsGate. This is the Midday Repartee. I am Rotten Glory, joined today by my co-host, the creator of Blood Hunt and Tales from the Napverse. Sim, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I'm just a nervous wreck waiting for the proof to come in by the mail. I'm like,
Yeah,
special delivery waiting.
that's so cool, dude. I can't wait to experience that feeling, man. I'm really looking forward to that. It's a ways off, but God, that's got to be cool.
Yep. But no, so
Also
far
with
so
us,
far so far I've checked the door 5 times since I've been up.
also joining us is Ryan Miller Art. How you doing?
Not too bad. Hail ComicsGate.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, of course, man. I think that it was a really good show yesterday. I enjoyed the conversation a lot. I feel like we could have kept that going another hour easy.
Yeah, time flew.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I really liked having Samir on as well. It just, I guess what fascinates me is that the worldwide phenomenon of what is happening with the ideology of kind of this SJW far left way of thinking has just been, it's permeated the universities and it spreads out from there, and it's in all facets of everything all across the world. It's not like it's isolated, and that's what makes it so freaky, and like, how
M-
how do you fight something like that has such a reach, and the institutions themselves
I,
are
th-
so behind it.
I think you fight it with with things like what ComicsGate is doing, for instance.
Agreed.
So a line was drawn in the sand with this particular field. Like it was, and I didn't even know this was. I didn't know in just looking at comics in particular. I didn't know it was a problem until until right after The Last Jedi, because I
Yeah.
wasn't paying attention to very much. I wasn't. I was getting out of watching movies anyway, and I hadn't picked up a comic book in a long time because I couldn't afford them for a while, and then I was like, man, I want to make a comic, so I wanted to get back into it, and then man, I found out. I mean, I didn't know how bad off it was, and I was listening to Ethan Van Sciver. I keep bringing him up, but that's how I found out all about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm digressing. Point is, I think that you find the thing that in the culture that you want to fight for, and then you just focus on that.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's so many great YouTubers. What I really love about Comicsgate is that the way, like, I've been into this for, a few years now, but the way, like, people that I independently are fans of, like Young Ripa or Heels versus Babyface,
Mhm.
or, Yellow Flash, like these people that I gravitated toward independently of Comicsgate, and then they're just like they're coming into Comicsgate, they're adjacent to it, they support it, they're coming on the shows in Comicsgate, and you're like, well, of course they are, because they're not fucking lunatics.
Yeah.
They're
But
grounded. They share this idea of like, we need to put our foot down and start protecting shit because we're gonna lose it.
it's a known fact that when somebody tries to force, like provoke or force a change instead of letting it like grow by itself, like gradually just people adapt to changes and just change with what's happening. You try and force a certain narrative or something like a forceful change, there will always be resistance. It will always build an opposition,
Yes.
and that's what Comicsgate is. And the reason, and one of the thing is, what's one of the big difference between Comicsgate, Gamergate, and stuff like that is they were all separate. Comicsgate is pretty much like a pool of everything, because we're as much fans of movies, Star Wars,
Mm.
everything,
Oh, that's interesting.
but
Yeah,
but we
you're
can
right.
produce, yeah.
The
Well,
difference being that comics are something that the independent creator is
Like,
more than capable of producing on their own, unlike video games. It's not to
mhm.
say it can't be done in video games or film.
But
It's just much more difficult.
you know that Rodriguez started being an animator, right?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
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 Robert Rodriguez. You know,
Oh,
many of them did. That's
Yeah.
one of the things that people don't know. It's like Jim Lee said, like the same thing happened to me, right? I could not make a living to raise my two kids just by doing books, so I had a regular job, trying to do my books and stuff like that, right? Then I'm like, I'm gonna go for my other dream that was to make movies. Then you get into movies, it's all fun. Then when you start learning the entire freaking how it works, you're like, well, I'm way better off doing comics. Comics is way better. I don't have to deal with special effects, budget, you telling me what to do. I don't have to deal with pissy ass actress or actors. I don't. No, none of this. I can just make the movie I want. No restriction on budget. If I'm like, yes, like Jim Lee said the same thing in once, and I'm like, ha, yeah, I get you. I fucking get you.
Yeah.
exactly. And that's why I don't really like when I completely understand the argument when comics creators kind of try to segregate the movie and comics relationship. I think that it's really important that I think there's lots of lessons to learn between comics and movies, and especially the fact that, like, if you do have a movie idea, if you do, and you can't afford to make it, I don't think that it's cheating to make it into a comic first.
You make a comic out of it, then you send it to a studio. Hey,
Yeah, sure.
Now,
check this
what
out.
didn't
That's what I'm doing with Bud.
I'm not certain on the timeline. I'm not certain on the timeline on this, but didn't Darren Aronofsky do that with The Fountain?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I know, dude, the Fountain comic is beautiful. I think it's Kent Williams, who's kind of like a really painted. He's a
I
painter
don't know.
more.
Wasn't the
And, like-
Fountain done in like 70 something?
No, the Fountain's a pretty recent movie. Aronofsky's Fountain is fairly
Oh.
recent, but I think he made the comic first. I could be wrong on that, but I think he
Well-
made the comic first.
We're not talking about the
According
same
to Wikipedia, it was published in 2005 by Vertigo. So when was the movie?
Yeah.
Let's see,
You
I'll
can
find
check
out.
that. Yeah. But I'm not saying that was the model he was going by, but it's like, certainly,
2006, the movie.
Yep.
yeah,
There.
yeah. And it's a beautiful comic, and it's a beautiful movie. for
I
sure.
I didn't know it was a comic. I loved the movie though.
It's a very different experience reading the comic. And the art is just absolutely
But,
stunning, man.
Other good example is like 300. They took the book and they did it as a movie. Like they took it as a storyboard.
Yes. And so, the comic book adaptations work so much better when they respect the visual style of the book, man. It's so, and not just if you're a fan of the comic, but just in general terms, just people who don't even know about the comic. If they take that visual style of the book and implement it into the film in a proper way, it just makes the movie stronger. And that's because, comic book artists and creators, if they're good at their job, they know what they're fucking doing. So why, of course you should mirror that in the film adaptation. And Robert Rodriguez really understood that with Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
That was that's the whole way he got that thing made, was like, dude, look, I
Alita
can
as
capture
well.
the essence of what you did on the page. I can bring it to life.
Yeah.
You did the same with Alita.
Yeah, well,
Did Robert Rodriguez do Alita?
Yeah.
Oh.
we're gonna have to have a throwdown on Alita at some point, man.
Oh, probably. I love that goddamn movie.
Yeah, no, I seriously enjoyed the movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I love the character though. I love the
thought
way it was brought to life.
I thought the movie itself was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. I mean, it wasn't something great. I thought the visuals great. The way they animated her, I thought was fantastic. But like in terms of like story, it was all right.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, dude.
Man, I just don't. I say it's the best. It's one of the best movies of 2019 because I think that
Wow.
there's not many good things that came out compared to it. Like it's
That's a bold statement, man.
if you compare it to like older movies, like the story could have been like a bit tighter. They try to overcharge it a bit. Like
Yeah.
I think they should have waited before introducing the Mars part of it, because that
Yeah.
that could have been in the second movie. There's a few things,
I feel
but I'm
like it could
and
have taken
overall,
its
I'm like,
time. It should have. I feel like the first one really should have been about getting to know Alita. They didn't have to push a lot of the narratives they did. It didn't have to go where it did. The reliance on the what is it, the rollerball?
but
Oh, yeah, that was a long-
It was way too overblown in the film. I didn't care for it at all. So I don't know.
But your point before, though, about movies translating comics aesthetic,
Yeah.
whatever the design was for the for the characters, the settings,
Yeah.
what have you. Almost any time that a comic book movie has stuck as close to the comic book itself in the modern era of comics, not talking about when they couldn't perform
right.
the special CG, because then it looks goofy, like that.
Right.
Yeah, but in the modern era, anytime I've seen a comic book movie stick to the source material visually, that movie has been a classic.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I've got to share that this wasn't part of the initial thought process for this show, but I caught it on Twitter. It's a post from Tom King, and it's this fucking comics pledge, right? Many comics say no. There are a lot of ideals we claim to honor in comics: hope, justice, unity, innovation. Where is it? Creativity and freedom. None of them mean anything unless men in comics change our behavior and hold each other accountable for the safety of women and all people of marginalized genders and sexes. So this is a thing.
What our savior, Tom King. I commented on this. I was a little spicy.
Fuck?
It was, oh, is Acevedo talking about the rollerball?
Those scenes were what helped make the movie. Yeah, I'm sure it was, because suit wearing executives were like, oh, this is what people want.
But-
They want. That's what they want.
can I-
It's like, no, that's not really.
can I
what
explain to
made-
you why for the fandom?
You can.
Because in the comic, okay, like the big difference that they change, right? It's the rollerball is supposed to come right just after the boy dies. She doesn't do rollerball to try and get money to get him high, up. She does the rollerball to get herself up there to kill the fucker.
Yes.
Okay, that's what happens in the book. Like he dies, then she goes to rollerball. But
And
the
don't
thing
you
is,
find that much more powerful?
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you on that, dude. That's my problem with the book, the movie, right?
But it
me,
ruins
it's
the
more
whole.
powerful.
It ruins the rhythm of the entire story, because
Yeah,
it was forced in there. It didn't really work. It would have made so much more sense if.
But
it
I know
was,
why
she
it
went
was
for
done.
that. That should have been the second movie.
Yeah, but that was.
I understand why
they.
they did it. They were like, this will make it more commercial, but really,
Yes,
I mean-
maybe, but the idea was it was more like fan service, because they did the OVA and nobody has ever seen, other than a short clip done by fans, the rollerball. Never. It's never been animated ever. And
I
it's
get that.
and that's what like you
But
said it.
save
That's why they
Save
want to
it for
put
the
it
second. Dude,
exactly. Yeah.
Seeing Alita on screen, my mind was fucking blown. What they did with it. You didn't need the rollerball to make me fall in love with that character or that movie.
I agree.
Save
with
it for the second movie. Then it would have been like, then it would have been taken to the next level. Where you've already blown your load and you haven't gotten to the second movie yet.
It would have been
pisses
sick.
me off.
It would have been sick if they would have put like left just the hints of it, the explanation of what it is, like the hints of it in it, and she only gets to you close the movie and she's starting after he dies. That would have been way more powerful and going like, whoa,
Yes.
we want the sequel, we want the goddamn sequel.
Yes, dude. That's
they-
what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the movie. I think it's a really fun, incredible achievement. But
They needed to start
I
making
just
these
feel
movies.
like they missed it a little bit, and
But that's
they
my problem.
minimalized things that should have been really integral and important in terms of character development and interaction and emotional points,
Hmm.
and they glossed it over to get to the stuff that the suits thought would sell it, and it's like, come on.
But you
This could
know,
have been this could
yeah.
have been a legendary franchise.
They could have just, yeah. Like when I finished it, I thought exactly the same thing. Because that's my only big problem with the movie, right? That part,
Mhm.
because I thought that the closing scene of her doing one race, like after he
Yeah.
dies, you close the
Or just
movie
like
with,
her about to do one, like at the
yeah,
start line. That would
about
have been your cliffhanger right there, dude. Anyway, I don't know. I'd love
welcome
to
the new
talk about it with you.
welcome the new rollerball
Yeah.
Lita, and like what? And then you
That
close
to
it.
me was the ending of it, but they compressed it too much. I think it took away from it the power of the whole thing. Do you guys know who Angry Joe is?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't looked into this a whole lot, but this, as we know, all the cancel culture thing is completely
You
fucking
got
out
me
of
too
control.
now. Yeah.
He got me too, and from what I've seen, it was just like now a guy who has any amount of celebrity anywhere, whether it's on YouTube, film, TV, whatever it is, you just
it's
like
open
trying
fucking
to
season.
naturally connect with some other human being is now grounds for like getting canceled.
Did
Oh my
you read?
god, a guy wanted to connect with somebody. Wow, he must be an evil son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, did you read the setup? It was like, so he meets this girl at at some convention or something like that, and he's at his table, and they apparently exchanged numbers, which
Yeah.
is something that you do when you are interested in a young woman or an old
Imagine.
woman, right? And then the series of texts goes back and forth where he invites her to dinner, and she agrees to go, and that was the start of his use of power. So
Right.
I don't. It's like, what? Then how am I supposed to ask somebody out on a date?
Is this guy? Yeah, if you have any level of celebrity or clout at all, you're apparently just supposed to never ask anyone on a date.
Well, and
Just don't do it.
If it comes down to pure power, I mean, I guarantee you, I can punch out any woman. I'm not going to, by the way. Any woman in the world. So anytime I ask a woman out, I am asking from a position of power. I physically overpower her. So when is it okay, let's see, to never abuse, harass, groom, or manipulate women and all people of marginalized genders and sexes? Who is this pledge for?
It's for exactly the people we've been fighting against from the beginning of ComicsGate.
And then this is my
It's
favorite.
for that crowd of people. It means nothing. It has no substance.
Yeah.
It has no teeth. It's basically an attempt to see how many men in comics are going to get on their knees and use this hashtag and basically submit themselves to never having any control over their lives again.
Oh my God. And actually, oh hey George.
This is like
George, how you doing?
Hey, I was just
This
about
is
to
the-
fall asleep in the green room.
I'm starting to think that this is like a recruitment thing. Like it's like then this is where they're gonna get their pool from.
Mm-hmm. Like
Right?
are you a man in comics? Do you make comics? Do you like this hashtag? Well, come work for us, because we know you won't cause us any trouble.
To actively call out our friends and peers, even when no one else is watching. So be a snitch. So if we use Angry Joe as the model of what is abuse of power, right? Just asking a woman out on a date. So if you ever see your friend call out, or no, I'm sorry, if you ever see your friend ask a woman out on a date in at a comic convention or anywhere, just anywhere, fuck it. Make sure that you snitch on them, even when no one else is watching. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Who knows what that means, dude? It's fucking 1984.
I know.
The irony of SJWs all the time is that they claim to be fighting against fascism while upholding fascist ideals at every fucking turn all the time. And they don't see the irony. They can never see it. They're blind to it. It's so obvious to everyone else with a rational fucking thinking brain. Brian Christgau in the house, Six
What
Gun
up?
Gorilla.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
What up, fellas?
Greetings.
What
How
up,
you doing,
Simon?
man?
What's up, Blue
Hey,
Buffett?
Brian.
What's up, Rot? What's
Yeah.
up, Ryan Miller? Oh, hey, what's
Ryan
up, man?
Miller. Yeah,
Pleasure to
yeah,
meet-
yeah.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm not sure if I made your acquaintance before.
We haven't, but I've seen you around, and Six Gun looks great, and yeah, nice to
It
meet you.
doesn't just look great; it fucking is great. I got my big gun down. By the way, Brian,
Oh, you did? Awesome.
I've read the big gun down, and it, as per usual, it's another incredible edition. God
Oh,
damn,
thanks, brother.
You're
Thanks.
making quite the series, dude.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that people are grooving on it. Hello.
Yeah.
Yo,
What's up, Dave?
how's it going?
Howdy,
Hey.
man.
Hey, Dave.
What's up, Dave? Yeah, you guys are talking about Angry Joe getting canceled, people not being able to ask people out or ask them for their phone numbers. Yeah, I mean, that's just the zeitgeist. That's how we're living. I think if you're anybody that has any kind of success, you're going to have people that are going to try to destroy you. You're going to have. I knew that if, like, my campaign for my comic was successful, which is a teeny bit of success, that I was like, okay, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and somebody's going to try to cancel me.
Yeah, and they did, right?
Yeah, and they did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I saw you freak out about it for like a second, and then you're like, "Oh, wait a second. They have no power over me. What am I doing?"
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That's it.
Right.
Right. But these are people like the Warren Ellis thing. Okay. Now, what did he do? He hit on a 22-year-old, supposedly.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what a crime.
Yeah, well, I mean, then somebody's like, ew, gross. Like, he's like in his 40s or his 50s or something. I'm like, well, first of all, judge not lest ye be judged. It's not something I would do. But, hello, she's legal, right? She's not a child. She's an adult. I mean, if
Yeah,
you're hitting,
of course.
if you're hitting on like a 16-year-old or something like that, yeah, that's nasty. But
Of course, the argument is that these are people that were seeking some kind of entry point into comics or something. and
Right,
that he
they were
could
using their
potentially
power.
help them, so that was leveraged or abused in some way. But it's like he's a career comic book creator who is constantly immersed in that world, and where else is he going to meet people? It's like, of course,
Exactly.
the likelihood of whoever approaches him wanting to be in comics is, relatively high. Does that mean he can't fucking flirt with them? Does that mean you can't engage them as adults? Like, come on. And I think your boy Zach has talked about this. Like, it disrespects women to think that they can't take responsibility for their own, like.
Well, it's in the first.
Like, what
it's in the
the
first
fuck?
bullet. It's in the first bullet point here. Never abuse, harass, groom, or manipulate women and all people of marginalized genders and sexes. I mean, that statement in and of itself declares that they have no agency whatsoever.
none.
And that puts whoever else is on the other side of that bullet point in a position of
And I'm assuming the only category that doesn't fall into this is white males.
Yep.
That's
Is
the only
that-
thing I could assume.
What? And
Yeah,
of course,
Gil-
it's a white male that is pushing this on everybody, right?
Has
Yeah.
Gail Simone
Without fail, every fucking time, it's a white male telling you that the only people that don't deserve to be harassed, manipulated, and fucking shit on, it blows my mind.
Well, and it also implies that there is some kind of superiority in for whom it's directed to.
Yeah, right.
Which is absurd. It's absolutely insane and
This
wrong.
is it's like a new breed of segregation.
Yes.
It's like, we can't have, you don't go walk into the world and there's not like this physical segregation rules anywhere, but they're creating it this way now. It's like all in the mind. There's segregation in the mind now. And it's actually more dangerous. It's actually almost seems more poisonous.
Yeah, it's definitely more insidious. But you look at somebody like, I remember there was a really interesting little video on Keanu Reeves and how he won't touch a female fan. How, like, when he poses for a picture with a fan, he'll put his arms sort of around them without actually physically touching them.
Smart man.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Right? He's covering his ass because, or like what happened to there was a comedian who had a really bad date.
Oh. Aziz Ansari.
Yeah. And I just remember just like reading this woman's account, like she's like, I've been raped. I'm just like, bitch, you had a bad date.
Right.
Yep.
Well, it's like Henry Cavill. Like he said, he's afraid to flirt with women.
Yep.
And then he gets slammed for that, for just coming out and saying that.
The thing is, if someone like Henry Cavill's afraid of doing it, what fucking chance is someone like who looks like me got? I mean,
well, that's the thing too. Is it's harassment if it's not welcome. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, I've never had a woman have to say no to me twice. Right? I've never had a woman let me know that she wasn't interested twice.
Exactly. You know? I mean, most rational, normal people, it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
but now it's a crime to try again after the first one, though.
Shit, it's a crime to try the first time.
It's a crime, exactly.
Yeah.
Even the first time might be a crime, but you're right. No, Sim makes a good point because if you look at like romanticized Hollywood films, it's almost a classic trope of the man trying. Like the persistence is what wins. The lady, right? And now it's like that's fucking harassment.
Like the basic line of "Hi," and you go, "Not interested." Are you sure? You didn't even give me a chance yet.
Right.
You don't even know how big my penis is yet. Are you sure? As Vanilla Ice said
in the legendary film Cool as Ice, yo, drop the zero and get with the hero.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's there's all these contradictions. It's like what they push you to do in romanticize fictional stories in Hollywood and television and all that is completely against the rules. It's like all these mixed messages. Nobody knows what the fuck to do. I think the objective is just to make us. We're just supposed to stay indoors and not interact with each other, I think.
I've got a question though.
Oh, hold on, I want to hear what George. What do you got to say?
Okay, I listened. I sat back patiently listening to this.
I know you listened to the fools, and now the master can speak.
Hell yeah.
What do we care that these fools will live the rest of their lives being lonely? The art of courting, the natural instinct of courting, exists in reasonable human animals, men and women. And there's lots of places that all these people who think they know better and dictate how we should conduct ourselves.
Right.
They're going to be lonely for the rest of their lives. They're going to be miserable and lonely for the rest of their lives. And they will
agreed.
And there's going to be thousands of lonely, miserable men out there, and then those are the people who are like picking up the Antifa insignia and going out and rioting. And
exactly.
That's the problem.
And what are their lives accomplish? I mean, all these people. Whether it's all these ideologies that work counter to human proper procreation and sustaining the way of life. It's mentally and physically suicidal. They're all ugly people. It's been proven scientifically. These people who have these poor ideologies inside, all this anger inside, manifest physically.
Yeah.
In their body, in everything that you see physically from them. They're very, very ugly people.
Well, I can't talk about anybody being ugly, so.
No, me neither.
So what's the end game of your point here? Like, what are you saying? Just ignore, disregard?
Ignore ugly people.
I think,
dude, I'm investing in a billboard across America. Ignore ugly people. Yeah, that's it.
Let's crowdfund
that. Let's crowdfund.
If you see someone with a garbage can on their heads protesting, whatever, ignore them. If you see a good-looking woman protesting something out of whatever it is, ignore them.
Well, interestingly
why ignore these people?
I think we'd be happy to ignore them, but they are aggressively going after people and trying to cancel them. That's the problem.
Yeah, but hold on a sec. Listen, all these people only have the power if you allow them to give you the power. Otherwise, whether they physically look ugly or beautiful, they continue to push their ideology. The reality is,
tell that to Warren Ellis.
That's what I was about to say.
Tell that to Warren Ellis.
Hold on a sec. Their numbers, statistically, are 5% of the population. Everybody else is going about their lives. Everything that you see in the media, all the hype that you see in the media, all the news that you see in the media, it makes it sound like, oh, this is actually happening to everybody. No, it's not. It's like 5% of the population. It's the crazy 5% that's doing all this.
It only took about 3% of the population to have the American Revolution.
Yep.
It doesn't take a very large amount of people, disaffected people, to have a communist.
And those guys were absolutely crazy and right at the same time.
Yep.
Right.
Which is a dangerous combination, but yeah, absolutely. They're motivated. And these people are very motivated, and they're buoyed by... I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to step on you.
No. You do you, Mac. Keep talking. I want to hear what you got to say.
Okay. SJWs, you have to give them credit. They weaponized Twitter in a very, very powerful, very, very effective way. And, all these media companies, comic book companies, I mean, you saw the effect that they had on, like, The Walking Dead and other TV shows. Hannibal, for instance. Once you give them an inch, they take a mile. I know, old cliche, but it's true. But the fact that they've weaponized Twitter so effectively that they can actually, once they realized that they could destroy people's lives. You all remember the story of the woman that got onto an airplane. She was going to Africa, right? And she made a joke that wasn't racist. It was a joke about racism. But these people don't do nuance. And by the time she landed, her life was over. She was out of a job. Her name was dirt. When they realized that you could destroy somebody in a matter of hours, they got drunk off of that power, and they still have it. And until Twitter somehow goes away or is replaced by something else, they're going to wield it like a warhammer.
Yeah, and it's like they're going around desperately, like looking under at fucking every rock they can find, trying to find any tweet, anything that might be, and they're desperate to keep the attacks rolling forward. It's almost like they have to keep expanding or it will fade away. So
no. It's more like a drug. They need that. They need that nice. What's it? Dopamine hit. Make them happy.
Yep.
And it has to come that much quicker because, as we all know, every drug addict, the time between the next hit gets shorter and shorter until it becomes so ridiculous that they forget to eat, they forget to groom themselves, and in fact, they're discovered days later, passed out on the floor, or possibly, worse.
It's the law of diminishing returns.
You make a good point there. It's like how quick they've gone through all these recent campaigns. You had Black Lives Matter, then there was this thing about Trans Lives Matter, and now we're on this. And it's within the space of what, a month?
Yeah.
They're
It's
literally
like
going through the motions.
it's accelerating. Just like
Yeah.
boom.
Well,
They want more. They want more. It's like anybody who's engaged drugs at all in any amount of time, it's like you're not going to get the same feeling from the same dose over time. You got to keep increasing the dose. So they want more and more and more and more.
Well, I mean, yeah, but let's not equate this bullshit with, I mean, in America, we do have a tremendous problem with racism and also with police violence. Okay? We have a militarized police culture here that is out of control. The cops where I live, they were always a-holes when I was growing up, but now they're goons.
Hold on. Excuse me, sir. I like to disagree. The statistics actually show that to the contrary.
Okay.
The statistics show that a lot more than, or actually, it's an imbalance. More white people get apprehended and shot by police.
Oh, I know.
That's not. Hold on, George. That's not what he said. He said police violence. He didn't specify what kind.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Is that only a certain type is being focused on.
Absolutely.
That's the problem.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, then let me add one more thing.
Sure.
On my last thought, when I said, the guy, passes out because, he's waiting for the next hit and all that stuff, I said, it could be worse. Yeah, it could be worse. His video camera could still be on it. It's actually recording him passed out on the floor. And if he had his channel monetized, he could be rewarded with money. A pass out video or a chair video. They make a lot of money now. But I also want to point out Samir's in the chat, and he's reading my book, and he says he's halfway through it. Samir, thank you so much. I'd like to thank our host here, who actually connected us on the stream yesterday. Cheers to that, and let's continue with the conversation.
This is a viewpoint that is not seen very often. Samir says, compared to everyone around the world, the West is doing fine. I don't even know. That almost feels like it sucks the oxygen out of the room because America is so under attack from all sides. It seems all the time.
Yeah, but all this is a facade compared to what happens in the Middle East. Compared to what happens in communist regimes. We don't even have to have a conversation.
That's what I love about having, like, when you have someone like Samir, who is in Pakistan and is maybe the number one only fan of ComicsGate in Pakistan, as he in his own words. He was on the show yesterday. Absolutely loved hearing his perspective, and it's like, maybe the youth of America just doesn't have any context of why this country is actually great and why it needs to be fought for and protected and not flushed down the toilet like they are so eager to do.
Because our teachers are hiding that history.
Look, you brought up earlier that they keep going more events, more problems. There's always more attacks, and there's something there. There's something new. Dude, to me, it's a sign that we're actually winning. That's why we need to keep fighting, because we've been growing, right?
Yeah,
we've been expanding.
You're
people
talking
out of
ComicsGate?
CG come here.
Yeah,
like people that don't even know nothing about CG back our books. At this point, so they have to double down to try and quiet us, because we're making noise. We're winning in this. So, to me, it's kind of like, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
They're desperate.
Well, yeah.
They're fucking desperate.
It's against the communist propaganda.
Yeah. And the more that they'll go, the more they will expose how stupid they are and how redundant and how idiotic, and it makes no sense. Because people will go like, well, you keep fucking crying wolf all the time. Remember that subject?
Yes. That's right. The subject we almost didn't get to. And Samir adds, dude, I have lived through racism in Arabia. So yeah, Samir, really value your perspective. You help me keep things in perspective, to be honest.
Is Samir a creator or is he a consumer?
Yeah, he's a fantastic creator. He's working. Has plans to produce a comic book. He's a great artist. He also does some sculpting, like figure
Nice.
sculpting.
Nice.
Yeah, the guy is a talent. We're gonna be seeing from Samir. I guarantee you.
Awesome.
Yes.
So we're gonna have CG Pakistan.
Yes, that's right.
Where's
That's
That's
right.
awesome.
He will be an army of one. Will bring
is
it, but
international. That's not
Exactly.
he will
how
bring it.
dividing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like what Rob Huerto, who did Tales from the Classroom, which is really wonderful, is in Portugal.
Look, somebody once asked me, like on the show, what CG represents to me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, CG became a reaction from SJW propaganda in comics, where they started like preventing people from doing shit. And I'm from the old school of like anti-censor and anti-PC culture, right? So it's like, let me do the book and let people do the book they want, and let the buyers decide if they like it or not, and want to,
Yeah.
support them.
Yep.
And this is kind of lost track a bit.
It's
Because
okay.
my mind started going somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's because
yeah,
you smoke
no,
more
I get
bud
it.
than I do.
I do, I do want to kind of hit on the core topic of the day, and
We haven't
in
even
an
talked
odd
about
way,
the
I think
topic
it.
of the day.
What?
What you talking
This
about?
has been the core topic was initially, it's the end. Celebrity relevance is kind of coming to an end. I think, like, famous actors and what have you. Like everybody is just like, dude, whatever. We don't really need to hear from you. We don't want to. Just do your job. Like, make the movies great because you can do that, but shut the fuck up about everything else. So like celebrity relevance is kind of waning, and I feel like this is going to create like the rise of the director, where the directors are going to be kind of the superstars, and I like that. I
Yeah.
prefer that.
Yeah, I think the. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
Well, no, I just think it's been. I think the age of the celebrity's been dead for like 5 years or so. Ever since
Yeah.
the big
Reality TV,
super-
really.
reality. Well, yeah, that was certainly a symptom of it. But if you take that reality TV and extend it further, like this is the ultimate reality TV. Like I stopped watching TV and movies for YouTube because YouTube is far more engaging, and I get to listen to real people
Yeah.
with
Right.
real opinions.
Exactly.
I haven't given a shit about going to see a Brad Pitt movie or a something or other movie, in a long time. I think. It's
Well,
dead.
isn't that it used? I think when I was younger, it would be like, "Oh, so and so's in it," and I really, and that would
Yeah.
kind of convince me. Now it's like, as I've gotten older, it's the director that I'm like, "Oh, it's a Tarantino movie." That makes me want to watch it. It's not because who's in it. That's kind of course, there's going to be great talent in it. It's fucking Tarantino. He's going to pick the right person for the role, but they're just there to do their job. Who cares? Like they're not the driving force of it. It's the director who has the vision.
Yeah, but
That's
hold on a
who
sec.
matters.
Yeah, but Hollywood has gotten rid of the auteur like a long time ago. I mean, you do have the exceptions, and it does come down to a matter of power. And power,
Yeah.
of course, comes from success if you're putting asses in seats.
Yeah.
By the way, Rod 10 watched Annihilation the other night,
Yes.
and it was a piece of crap. No, it was awesome.
Dude,
You moved up-
my heart sank for a moment. I was like, "Oh God,
Sorry,
he's never
sorry to
going to
do that.
respect me again."
No.
Wasn't it
Or
beautiful?
vice versa. Fantastic.
And I don't understand why people fucking have a thing against that movie.
Well, I think like the like all female lead cast, I think made some people think that maybe it was woke. That's
It
not a
doesn't
woke
automatically
movie.
mean it's woke.
But you would
know?
expect it to be.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's a absolutely brilliant, wonderful Annihilation. It's a cross between Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker And God, what else did I?
Isn't that on Netflix?
I think it might be.
It was for a time. They might have actually.
It's on-
I think it might be on Amazon Prime now.
It is. That's
Yeah.
where I watched it, and it is
Dude,
awesome.
it's so fucking good.
It's very good.
And for some reason the director's name is just.
Oh,
not coming
Alex
into my brain.
Garland.
Alex Garland is
right.
the present day guy to watch. Whatever he does, just fucking watch it. The guy
Absolutely.
is a genius. He wrote 28 Days Later. He wrote The Beach. He directed Ex Machina. He directed Annihilation. I mean, this guy is on fire. This guy.
Yeah, growing up watching horror movies, I'd see certain names over and over again. I'd be like, ooh, if I saw Mario Bava before a movie, I realized oh, this is going to be good. And so as a kid, I discovered directors and would follow people. God, in the 80s, we had so many of them. We had John Carpenter, we had George Romero, we had Tobe Hooper, we had David Cronenberg. We had all of these absolutely fantastic filmmakers that were just on fire. And these days we don't have as many auteurs as we used to, because of course Hollywood movies, mainstream movies are basically created by committee. They don't want to take any chances, and you wouldn't either if you were dropping $250 million on one single friggin' movie.
Right. But I think there's an element of Hollywood doesn't. All of these corporations are recognizing, and I think it's the same for comics. The same reason mainstream comics don't want the artists to be superstars.
Don't want to have to pay them.
Well, they don't have to pay them, but they also recognize that there is a potential of them waking up to the fact that they could go their own way and build their own empire. And I think when it comes to Hollywood, if you they're trying to keep the focus on the celebrity, the actor, because the actors they're not gonna go off to build their own empire, but the directors could. Tarantino could he could say, you know what, I'm gonna crowdfund my next movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore because you're full of shit. And you know how much money a Tarantino movie would crowdfund?
Yeah, insane amount.
Okay.
George, I want to hear. I know you're disgusted again.
And I'm not a.
Bring it on, George.
Everything you just said, I can disagree with right now.
Okay, do it.
First of all, the 70s, the movies were spectacle. The 80s, the movies were about the actor. The 90s, the movies was about the director. The 2000s, the movie was about the franchise. The 2010s and up, it's still about the franchise. Now,
Well, actually,
2020 is still
hold
about
on.
the
Hold on.
franchise.
go ahead.
Okay, now, the thing about, whether it's the director or it's the actor, that's a complete myth. I'll tell you why. Because every actor in Hollywood has their own production company. They manage their own services, meaning their own acting potential through their production company, and they pick and choose what they want to have as a director. They pick and choose what script they want, and they do that all the time.
Come on.
No, it's not.
You're giving actors. Wait, dude, these people are automatons.
No,
He's actually right about the production company thing.
Brad Pitt has Plan B. He picks and chooses all his movies.
Yeah,
Well, when you're right.
he made that piece of shit World War Z movie.
It doesn't matter, but the fact is, the actors have control over what they do more than.
Did the actors have control over them making that fucking ridiculous video that everybody fucking shit on?
I take responsibility.
Did Bill Murray have a choice being in that fucking piece of shit Ghostbuster movie with the women? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he did have a
These
choice.
people are controlled automatons. You can argue with me all you want, but I'm telling you, they're controlled.
They have their own production companies, and someone like Bill Murray, for
Bill
instance,
Murray doesn't even have a production company. He has his brother who takes phone calls from people, and then he may show up on the set or not.
Right.
I've never seen a man more miserable than that man in all of that Ghostbuster everything. the film, the
You haven't been-
interviews.
You haven't been to the chive.
Jesus Christ, he wanted nothing to do with it.
Well-
He was forced by fucking Sony to do it.
He's somebody who was always very, very careful about the films that he made. When you look at the amount of quality films he made versus shit movies, the quality movies massively outweigh the shit ones, as opposed to Robert Williams, where you had the opposite.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah.
Flubber,
Right.
okay? That's why one of the
Yeah. Flubber's decent, man. Flubber's good.
well, I haven't seen it, to be fair.
We got a Flubber fan.
Can I pose a concept
You can.
about celebrity and their influence? What actors, I think, should start to understand right now, especially right now, is they're all clowns. Every single one of them. They all work to play pretend for a living, and that is good and important in its own way. But at the end of the day, they're all clowns. Anybody in the entertainment industry is some kind of clown, and I would expect no one to take my political ideas and ideology any more seriously because I make drawings, or I act, or I'm in a dinner theater or whatever. Then somebody who's competent in those particular issues. They're clowns, and they need to humble themselves and start to realize that
That's true.
nobody gives a fuck about. I don't give a fuck about Brad Pitt's opinion. He's the only actor I know. Brad Pitt.
He's the only actor I know.
And he actually seems kind of cool. So
He seems fine, yeah. But the point is, actually, no, and he
Doubtful.
never says shit anyway. So
Right.
good for him. But I don't give a shit about Aaron Paul. Is that the guy from Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad, yeah.
I don't give a. Don't speak for me, bitch. Like you don't
Yeah.
speak for white people. White people, you get out of here, and you're a clown. Go be a clown.
So I'm curious. I'm going to ask this question. Do you think that the decline of celebrity reference in terms of like who cares what they say, like we don't give a shit, is that the older generation that feels that way, or is it also the up and coming? Does the up and coming generation also kind of feel like just we don't care what actors believe or say we should believe, or I mean, it seems to be the case, but I'm just curious, like what you think.
I could tell you right. Oh, go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
I was to say, I think it might be starting to, but remember the Kardashian? Everybody was more concerned about the size of their butt or anything else than schooling.
I have hope because I have lots of experience working with kids, and generally speaking, most of them don't go for any of this bullshit. The kids that I work with, and I usually work middle school, high school. You'll get a number of SJWs in there and they'll have their little clubs. But generally speaking, they're not politically correct at all. They make fun of political correctness. When PewDiePie was in the middle of being canceled, the only thing I heard from all the kids was how ridiculous it was, and I had a lot of fun with that too, because
that is hopeful, man. I like
it is
that.
hopeful.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm saying.
believe
People are the new generation, like the new one, are noticing all this shit.
That's
They're
awesome.
seeing it.
See, I really don't have a connection per se.
And,
I mean, I have no way of knowing what the
But
next generation is really thinking. So it's nice to hear that maybe they're like,
kids are a lot
the rise
smarter.
and fall of the YouTube star for them. Look, it was a quick thing, right? And
Yeah.
the Logan Paul and his brother, right? They saw them going, they were looking up to them, then they all realized they were just fucking idiots and losers and fuck off. So, that little type of thing is like all the kids were like, wanted to be like them, and then realized they're fucking losers, and they had that crush pretty quick. It took us a while between hey, I love those actors in movies, and then learning they're actually like douchebags that you better not getting to know them and just watch their movie, because some of them are really assholes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And shitty people. But this, I think,
Kids are way smarter than adults give them credit for.
Yeah, I am hopeful about it.
Very true.
And I like the fact that, even though it's a bad thing what's happening right now, it gives a whole lot more time for us who are parents to spend time with our kids right now and discuss those things.
Damn.
That's how I'm seeing it right now. Like, I'm like, oh, I have 4 kids at home all the time. Yeah, but I'm sorry. It's like, when you take a retrospect to it, you're like, yeah, we've been bonding more.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this shit. They're aware of this shit a bit more. And, I'm getting to realize that, Logan understand what's going on. And, he's facing, I knew that he was facing that at school too. But, we discussed it more and how he's noticing what to him's happening on on Twitter, Facebook, and everything, and he's been paying attention to CG, and he like the other day he goes, "No, I understand you more now."
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, he's lucky to have you as a father, Simon.
I just I know Samir says, "Come on, Rotten, they have agency." He's talking about actors. I look, I've. I look at a lot of this, and my perspective on this is that in order to achieve that level of fame and celebrity in Hollywood,
but
you give up some. For me to think that these people have control over their lives, you're not going to give control. When you give fame to someone, you give them power. You do give them power. You give them reach. You have to make absolutely certain that you can control the narrative from that individual. That you're not giving that power to someone who is going to go against you or not do exactly as you wish. Now, I think it's naive for people to think that these superstar celebrities have the kind of agency they think they have. And I think it's a mistake to also admire them and want to be them because they don't have freedom. I don't believe they have freedom of choice. This is my opinion. You can disagree with me. You can think that Brad Pitt can just do whatever he wants and choose whatever he wants to do. I don't think so. I think that there's a strong measure of control in their lives. Mm-hmm. That's just how I feel. If you can disagree with me, but I don't think so.
I'm gonna say something, okay? The way I'm seeing it right now, and there was a little report about it with I don't remember her first name, but McCormick. She's in the Marvel or DC there, right? Mary, something like that. Anyways, the Conic or whatever. And look,
Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Yeah, thank you. And right now, like you mentioned, the agency, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you at the point that the fact is all the actors have to live up to the agencies, right? But like they're saying, now a lot of those agencies are owned by those old actors, right? So now that's the thing. Like, just to make a little link, is those are the people that are creating all this shit because they're the one filtering all that's happening with the productions, right? And right now, that the Conic piece was about that very soon, all creator, writers, and stuff like that are going to have agents to be working for them.
Oh, God. So it's like another middleman.
So
another handler.
You have to pay.
Another handler.
Yeah.
Well, unless what happens to the movie and what I think is going to happen to the movie industry happens, which it probably already has happened, which is that there's going to be huge budget movies and then a whole lot of nothing.
Yep.
And then basically the ComicsGate of whatever film will become. Because they're like, what movies are coming out right now? And maybe I don't know.
Nothing.
Very
little.
Well, there are indie movies coming out.
It came on Kickstarter. If you remember, like a few years back, there was a whole bunch of little small production that made it big. Remember Kung Fury, all that stuff. But then you had Spike Lee, and you had some big guys trying to come in, and then that went spoof.
Wait, that Spike Lee?
He came to Kickstarter, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely had the Veronica Mars movie. That was crowdfunded. Kickstarter became welfare for movie stars.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Did you...
Veronica Mars that was a gag. They brought in some money, but the rest of the money came in from WB.
Interesting.
I know. I supported it, and we discovered just before the campaign was finished that WB was actually putting out the bill for the rest of the money.
Oh wow.
How much?
It was a glorified marketing stunt.
That's
Right.
what happened, and that's why it killed what you could call MovieGate.
How much money do you think Tarantino could crowdfund for his next movie?
Tens
dude,
of
that guy.
millions, 100
Yeah.
million. Yeah, but that's
And how
'cause he
much?
has
How much did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I'm gonna try and look it up right now.
I honestly think that guy could probably make enough money to make the movie and give it away to everybody.
and I'm not
90 million. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
Yeah.
cost 90 million, and I'm guessing most of that went to
The star cast.
actors.
Well,
right?
yeah,
Star
but
cast.
but there's one thing you have to keep in mind, that the budgets that they say that their movies have are
Includes
vastly
promotion.
inflated.
They include the promotion, the
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying it's even more realistic that he could make. I'm saying
Yeah.
that the reason Hollywood doesn't want the director to be the star is
Right.
because the
Mhm.
directors might
Absolutely.
begin to realize in this age of crowdfunding and discontent in fandom, the Tarantinos of the world, the true talents, the people who have real vision, that don't want to be controlled by the suits, they're going to start going, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to let the world fund my next movie. It will
Well-
be exactly what I want it to be. I'm going to make a whole lot of people happy and make a whole bunch of money. So get the fuck out of my life.
Well, in the 70s, that was the era of the auteur and
Yeah.
the belief in the auteur theory, which is to say you had one person that was the writer-director.
Yeah.
And now you go to see a mainstream Hollywood movie, and they're made by committee.
Correct.
And there's a degree of censorship, and this may sound paranoid, but it is an established fact that the CIA actually has its hands in big blockbuster tentpole movies. That's an established fact. It's
That's
been for a
going
long
on
time.
since the 50s.
Absolutely. And now a lot of the censorship that we're seeing in an American mainstream film is actually, in a way, indirectly coming from China. I'm a big fan of Chinese cinema from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I can't watch Chinese movies anymore.
Right.
Because they're so heavily censored, and they have a type of censorship where they don't even tell you what you can and can't do. You have to figure it out yourself.
Kind of like YouTube. Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you hear the debacle of Rise of Skywalker? The Chinese complained about the level of color in the blue that was in Luke's aura, and then they decided not to show the movie.
Yeah. Like very, very arbitrary things. Very arbitrary things. And
But it, Go
and
ahead.
the only good Chinese movies that come out these days, it's very interesting because there's certain directors I still want to see what they're doing, like Johnny To, huge Johnny To fan, right? So sometimes you'll see their movies, they'll be the actual movie, and then the last 10 minutes will be the propaganda, right?
Oh, right.
Anti-Western, pro-China.
Right.
And you can tell the director is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just tack this on at the end. So one of these days, maybe there could be the director's cut, and I can just cut that right off.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I think the difference with the 70s in terms of, the auteur is that in the 70s, the auteur was still completely reliant on the mechanism, the corporation.
Yep.
To make their movie. They had no other way of doing it. Today, that isn't necessarily true, and Hollywood does not want these directors to get it in their head that they can just go build their own empire. I really hope they do, and I'm hoping Tarantino does it. I really do. I hope that one of these guys that's just hugely popular decides to break away do their own thing, get it crowdfunded, make a shit ton of money, and not have any oversight whatsoever. Imagine the films we might see if these visionaries did not have the control.
Yeah, but here's
Well,
the thing.
Imagine it.
Tarantino can do anything he wants already, right?
I don't think so.
And I'm not a Tarantino fan. I like 2 movies. Of
Say
his.
what?
Yeah, I'm not a Tarantino fan at all.
Kick him.
He's
Sorry, my balls just
he's
retracted.
They
just went back in my body.
He's a collage he's a collage artist. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying collage, yeah. He's a collage artist. I can go through any Tarantino movie and tell you, oh, this is from that, that's from that, yeah, that's from that, he's took that from that.
I'll give you that. You have so much knowledge, maybe you
cobbled together from pieces of other people's movies. There's only one movie that
even
he made
the dialogue?
Yes. There's only one movie of his that isn't, and that's Jackie Brown, which is his best movie, and that's based on a Elmore Leonard novel. But anyway,
I'll concede because you have such vast knowledge about film.
Yeah, but that doesn't
it doesn't necessarily automatically make you right. But maybe I can't say specifically that maybe he lifted even dialogue. I mean, to me, it's always been about the dialogue. If he's lifting actual dialogue, I'm a little like, whoa.
He is.
I'm watching somebody's
Samuel
love
Jackson
for a director die in real time.
I'm just like,
okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm good. It's Rodriguez. I'm good.
Brother man.
Carpenter.
Pulp Fiction. Samuel L. Jackson's speech that he gives, I will strike down with furious anger. That's taken from, you know the scene I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Before
of course.
he kills the kids. That's taken directly, word for word, from a Sonny Chiba movie called The Bodyguard.
Okay. But the structure of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah, well, here's the thing. Once again, this comes down to a matter of taste.
The structure of his storytelling is
but check this out.
Really fascinating.
Yeah, and Pulp Fiction
but
is a
check this
perfect
out.
example of the fact that he's like, pieces of story.
Yeah, but also you're not thinking about
collage.
Roger Avery. You're not thinking about Roger Avery. Roger Avery actually ended his friendship with Tarantino and Roger Avery won an Academy Award for the screenplay of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
He was going to parties, that sort of a thing, and people were coming up, movie stars and shit, really important people, and they were saying, oh, my favorite line of dialogue is this, that, whatever.
And it was from this.
And it was shit that Roger Avery had written, and Tarantino was like, oh yeah, I wrote that. And that's how their friendship came to an end.
So after the show, I'm gonna be crying myself to sleep.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. It's just I mean, some of these are facts, but it's okay. It's also there's no accounting for taste. I'm just not a fan.
Now I'm just like, dude, the blades are just the heart is just stabbed.
I didn't mean it that way, brother. I didn't mean it that way, brother.
Well, at least we have Alex Garland together, right?
Hell yeah. Yeah, wonderful filmmaker. But what were we talking about again? Canceling?
It doesn't matter at this point. I want to die.
Well, there was a guy who that would actually hound Tarantino at film festivals, not personally, but he would make little short films called "You're Not Fooling Anyone," and
Except
he would
this guy.
And he would show. You could look them up on YouTube. You're Not Fooling Anyone, Quentin Tarantino, right? And he'll show the clip from the Tarantino movie and the movie that it's from. And one after another, like for instance, the plot of Reservoir Dogs, that's taken whole cloth from a Ringo Lam movie called City on Fire, etc., etc., etc.
Facts don't care about your feelings. Apparently not. I have a lot of thinking to do today, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. I'm going to have to research this. I need to find this out for myself.
Always
And
research
then
yourself.
there's always Gargoyle, who is quick to point out my shortcomings,
Hail,
which I
El
appreciate.
Gargoyle.
I appreciate immensely. It makes me want to be better, and also makes me enjoy my failure just a little bit sometimes.
We all need to be humbled sometimes, that's for sure.
All right, guys, this was fun. I had a great
It
time.
was.
Well, mostly. Till
Sorry.
you destroyed my whole existence.
Look, it doesn't.
He's gonna have to redecorate his entire living room.
No, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy who plasters shit all over. I don't do that kind of stuff. So, but I have always enjoyed.
Nevertheless,
But maybe this is why. Maybe the guy is just a really fucking talented thief. He knows where to steal.
Yeah.
He steals quality items, right? Well,
And
I'll take that.
obscure.
I'll
That's
take that.
the key. That's
Obscure.
the
Well,
key.
that's key, of course.
That's key because
If you're
then
gonna
people aren't
steal,
gonna
make sure nobody is aware of it.
catches you. Absolutely.
Yes. God damn it. Okay, guys. So I gotta wrap this up.
This was
I
fun.
want to give everybody. This is fun, crushing a man's soul.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't intend that.
All right, Sim. What do you
Yes.
got? What do you want to shout out for us today?
Go check
The net
yeah,
first.
subtitles from the Nadverse. Go check out Captain Love, More Lethal, Seven Legions, Lost Pages,
Doc Salem.
Doc Salem, and all
You.
those wonderful books that are on my feed somewhere. and go
And of
to my
course,
channel.
Sign up for Tales from the Natverse, which is in the description below. You're gonna want to do that.
And sub to my channel because I just announced that on July 1st we're doing that Meta Baron show at 5 p.m. Eastern, and the next week is going to be followed by Heavy Metal.
Hell yeah, Simon. Hell yeah.
Starting a new show called Midday World. BB
Looking
World.
forward
So
to
let's
that.
do the shit.
Yeah, we're gonna educate everybody about how awesome French comic books are.
Yep.
Nice, dude. I actually when is this?
The first one is July 1st at 5 p.m. Eastern. On my
Okay.
channel, Simon Sympathy.
I'm really interested in this French comic book thing. Like, I want to know how they're doing it, what they're doing, why it's so successful.
I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but I was like one of the only guys that knew about those shit. Then I met
Yeah.
Brian. Then we talked with Vaughn, and we talked with Michael Bancroft, and there's a few others. They're like, "Oh, we want in."
We want in?
Luke?
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Death
Luke,
Metal Hero.
Death Metal Hero was one of the first ones. Hey, me.
Ryan Miller Art, what you got? What do you want to shout out for us today?
Peregrine Falcon by the folks over at
Woohoo!
3.5. It
Hell
looks
yeah.
fantastic. The art is it's gorgeous, and the other thing too, if you go to their Indiegogo page, if people pay attention to the drawing I think is really solid, like a physically solid, like not the first of all the boob physics, the understanding of boob physics is fantastic.
And
Always good. Always
So
good.
the artist has a really good weight and quality to their drawings. So check them out and follow me on Twitter at Ryan Miller Art.
All right. Nice. Thanks for being here, man. GeorgePeterGatsis.com. What do you got for us?
Sim, my invitation's in the mail, I'm assuming.
Invitation to what?
To the French comics thing?
Oh, are you a fan, George?
So that's your way of saying you want into?
What? No, I'm just checking. I want to make sure I'm checking my mailbox. That's all. No pressure.
I'd love having George here. He's the best. He's so fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Hail
Yeah,
the
he is.
fucking Blue Caesar.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Cheesecake for everybody.
I love cheesecake.
Yes. Brian Christgau,
What up?
first of all, because I know you won't do it yourself, because you're just awful that way.
Yeah.
Everybody, Six Gun Gorilla, it's the Big Gun Down, still in demand. You can get your hands on the entire graphic novel. This story, you don't want to miss out on getting your hands on that because it might not be available on the next campaign. If you
It's
want the
huge.
whole
A
story,
book
get
is
in on
freaking
it
huge.
now for the big gun down. You gonna want this whole series. Trust me, it's beautiful.
I got my
It's
monkey
it's
book
a
on this
thick
way.
book.
Yeah.
It's a freaking thick book.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Who did that cover?
Oh, that's Kanan White.
He's getting better and better and better.
Isn't he? Isn't he?
Yeah.
And you know what made me really happy, Ryan, was the colorist is Derek Dow, who isn't like a comic book guy, actually does Western themed paintings. And Kanan he'd like forgotten about the illustration because it's from like 3 years ago, and he saw it and he saw it colored and he absolutely loved it, and that means the world to me. You know, the last thing you want to hear from one of your artists is, "Oh, you took this beautiful work of mine and you just vomited colors all over it." So he was thrilled.
Right.
So that made me thrilled. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm thinking that the trade paperback. Actually, I've only got the old cover here. I still have some of these.
131 pages.
148 pages.
It's
so-
so fucking good.
Thank you,
People,
Thank you. And
don't
also-
miss out on your opportunity to get that book with the newest installment, and then you can just from there you can just keep up with the thing.
And also,
Easy.
I should mention that this probably will be your last chance, at least for a while, to get a trade paperback edition, because
Yes.
in my next campaign, I'm just going to be selling floppies.
That's what I'm trying to tell people. Like, if you want the whole story, if you want to be on board with this thing, you got to get it now. This is your opportunity.
There's the new shit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm happy I got an upgrade.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thanks.
Okay, so
I
now
appreciate
that that's out of the way, because I know you won't stroke your own
Oh,
penis.
and also, can I also say definitely check out my man Drew. He's got Captain Love. Simon, of
Yes.
course. He's got Tales from the Natverse. Sign up for that mailing list because this is going to be something special. And also check out my man Preston Acevedo. Preston Exit Only Acevedo. He's doing a full color painted canvas cover for Six Gun Gorilla 8 Cemetery
Oh.
Crosses. He
Oh
also
shit!
did that wonderful, that
Nice.
stunning alternate cover for Peregrine.
Yes,
Also check that out. Love my graded 0.5 peeps. And
guy's a legend, man.
yeah, and everybody support indie comics.
Yes, very nice.
Awesome. And
Thank
before
you,
we go-
thank you, Brian, for being. I really appreciate you dropping in here. I know,
thanks for
obviously, you're fulfilling like a madman.
That's what I've been doing this whole time.
work, but also bringing your knowledge on film and everything is so fucking impressive.
Well, I hope I
And,
don't come off as like a cockhole, like,
Not at all.
lording
dude.
it over. Yeah, because that's the thing. Just because I know all this shit, it doesn't make my opinion more valid than anybody else's.
Listen, Brian,
Sure it
breaking a
does.
man's heart live on air is good radio.
Yeah, it's good radio, man. I appreciate it. That's gonna translate into clicks.
And we
Watching me
appreciate
get crushed will be probably the best content I make all week.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything.
the
Oh god,
heartbreak.
no,
the-
it's good,
the-
dude.
I meant
The
no harm.
heartbreak was
No, I
real.
appreciate. No, it actually makes me like. I want to understand how these great storytellers and. He's a great filmmaker. In my opinion, it's not going to change my opinion
No.
that he makes
No,
great
it shouldn't.
films.
It shouldn't. It
But
shouldn't.
it's like what it tells me is that everybody, in some way or another, is borrowing something from somebody. Like it's always there.
Always.
So that's just what it is. Dave, what do you got for us? You want to shout something out?
Yeah, everyone go back Merry Boys if you haven't already.
Oh my
From
god.
Chad.
Nice.
Such a
God
good
damn good book.
And the
Fuck.
most important thing, it's based in my home city. All right.
Oh,
That's
nice,
Bristol.
dude.
So
So
But
is
yeah.
is there like grains of truth to the corporate
yeah,
aspect
yeah.
coming in and
It's-
like trashing it a
was-
little?
It's so weird how accurate it actually is, especially
Nice.
the chaps. That's always a
Chav?
Yeah.
You know what?
Kick your ass.
I will gladly remove every puzzle trading card in my set for the next book to do a Merry Boys team up.
Hell yeah.
Oh wait, did I
That's
say that out
respect
loud?
right there, dude. Chubb, you
Speak
are a
Chubb,
legend
bro.
of ComicsGate, man. You are right there. You're to
Seriously?
me, You're in there with fucking Narwhal. You're creating innovative content.
I say that with love. I say it with love.
Can I just say this? Can I just say this also? I've backed a ton of CG books, and it's so much fun getting comics in the mail.
Yeah, it is.
And getting really good comics in the mail, and also sometimes great comics. Merry Boys is not just a great comic, it's the best indie comic I have read from CG or anywhere else in recent memory. It is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. I would agree with you except for Earthbound. I think Earthbound is better.
Yeah.
But
that's really good
they're
too.
on par. Me putting Merry Boys on par with Earthbound for me was like, wow, I really think it is there. They're like in the ballpark together.
It's awesome. Retro and a breath of fresh air at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, Sim and I are in the chat, right? We're on the panel, right?
Oh, do you guys make books? Oh, I forgot.
I haven't gotten either of your books yet. I haven't gotten either of your books yet, so caveat.
Okay, listen.
Sorry, we were busy stroking other people. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Work that shaft.
I know. I know I was going to get some shit for that, but yeah, it's an incredible book, and Dave, you should be immensely proud of it.
All right. Before we go, I like to recite a prayer if we can bow our heads and thank God that Disney's gonna kill the Disney Star Wars trilogy and possibly come up with something better.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
Hopefully.
We can
Fingers
hope.
crossed.
We can hope, man. I don't know if I can muster enough energy to care, but I can hope.
Well,
sure.
if anything,
You're willing
it's
to let them break
gonna
your
be
heart
great.
again?
If anything, it's
Yeah.
going to be great fodder for the YouTube personality.
Well, it'll make a
whole
bunch
lot
of
of money.
YouTube celebrities, that's for sure. All right, everybody. Thanks to the panel for being here. Really appreciate you. Thanks to the chat, as always, contributing, being here, sharing it out. If you haven't subbed to the channel, please do so. And we will definitely see you tomorrow.
Peace out, everybody.